Good morning, everybody. I wanted to give a quick talk on cyber awareness today. As a new hospital employee, you need to be concerned about some of the things you may or may not be aware of that happen in the cyber community. So this is to educate you about that, because if you're not aware, then you could very easily fall prey to some of the things that cyber criminals are doing today. So the title of the talk is Cybersecurity Awareness for Hospitals. You can't defend against something that you don't realize is there. And again, this is just an awareness for you. So what is cybersecurity? Let's start there. Simply put, protecting our data, protecting our computer systems, and any other information that we have from being stolen, from being captured, from being diverted for other uses, or any other way that people could think of for unintended reasons that they may want to use that information. So the best way to put it is how many people, people don't think about it this way, but how many people locked your house this morning when you left to come to work? How many of you locked your car when you got out of your car at the parking lot? And why did you do that? You did that because you want to protect the valuables that you have. Your computer and your cell phone and those type of things should be no different. They contain a lot of information that you don't want to be in the hands of other people. In the case of a hospital, we have a lot of information, financial information, people's health data. You don't want any of that information being in the wrong hands. So your technological devices should be no different. HIPAA is a big thing for us, as we've discussed in other classes. You've got to make sure that patient data is protected, and this is your responsibility. So CIA is a very common thing among IT professionals to talk about. It's just simply an acronym to help you remember basically envision a triangle, and the three legs of that triangle support each other. But it's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So this is what our goal is with our data. We want to keep it confidential. We want to keep our secrets secret. Stuff such as patient information, we don't want them being in the wrong hands. The second thing is integrity. If we can keep our data secure, but we can't keep it accurate, then what good is it? We have to have accurate data. We have to ensure that nobody is going in and maliciously tampering with any of that data, even though they may not be removing it or stealing it for their own use. We have to make sure that it is and remains accurate. And then the last thing is availability. This is where a lot of cybercrime is happening now with ransomware, where people will capture, they can't actually read your data most of the time, but they will capture your data and hold it ransom, just like they may a child in a kidnapping. They request a ransom to be paid in order to release your data. So we want to make sure the system is up and running like it's supposed to. The other thing, the DDoS, is denial of service. It's where other people overwhelm our website and our other data to where it's unusable to the public. And our website is a big part of what we do. So we want to keep that up and running so patients have access to their information. Physicians can get to their records from their offices and everything like that. So much of healthcare relies on electronic data now. So does this apply to my work computer only? No, this can be applied at home. You have the same threats at home, if not more. If you have an Alexa or a Google Home, those can be at risk of being hacked into. If you have security cameras that are web enabled at your home, people have them in their doorbells now. They have them outside their house, they have them inside their house. Those are important. Your security cameras, any social media accounts that you have, or any other device that's connected to the internet can be at risk. So at work, what is the risk? Keep in mind that this is not just your computer that's at risk, it's also your smartphone. It's also a laptop that you have that's a work laptop. And any social media accounts, whether it's your personal or whether it's your work accounts that you may have access to. any cloud that you save information to, like Google Drive and those type of things. Any portable devices like CD-ROMs, USB ports, and even the portable hard drives are all things that we have to make sure the data is clean and accurate on those. So you say, why should I care? What, this is IT's problem, right? No, it's everybody. Because our biggest risk is you allowing access into our computer systems through something that you have access to, and that's your responsibility, and that could cost you some disciplinary action with your job. At the most basic level, HIPAA is why you should care. You care about your patients, you care about their privacy. You should also care about HIPAA on your computer, even though it's not you speaking those words. Breaches may not just affect patients either. They may affect you. Just as like they can get to your patient data, they can also get to our HR records if our systems are compromised. They will be able to get to your personnel files and your social security numbers and those type of things. So it behooves you to make sure that you also have the security for your personal information as well. And many of you have been patients here, and again, your patient data as well could be at risk if you allow it to be. IT can't defend against the threat by themselves. It takes the entire organization working together. And then the other big thing is that the public trusts that we hold their information. Think about the damage that would be done if there was a big data breach and this information was out for the world to see. The media fiasco that would go with that, and the distrust that we would have within our organization. So IT has a big balancing act, and this balancing act is a ever-changing act that they have. On one hand, IT could lock down the system to where it would be very, very difficult for any intrusion to happen. But then the flip side of that is you wouldn't be very productive at your job, because you would have, it would be extraordinarily hard to get into the system to do the work that you need. Systems wouldn't crosstalk and those type of things. And then on the other hand, we could open it up to where you were extremely efficient, but it was super easy to hack into the system. So there's a balance there that we have to constantly battle and find that perfect balance between your productivity and the security of our systems. So they're a really threat to our organization. People try to hack into our organizations. Sometimes it's passwords. It's very simple things for people to try and passwords maliciously, but sometimes as many as hundreds of times a day do people attempt to gain access to our systems in various ways. Imagine if somebody broke into your home several hundred times in a day. You wouldn't live in that home very long. You would find somewhere else to go. There's a lot of at stake. Our computer systems and the data that are within them are worth thousands of dollars on the black market, and we want to keep it out of their hands. One of the largest cyber incidents in 2013, just to show you how elaborate and how quickly these things can spread, was the Target breach that you may remember, where a bunch of people's personal information and Target credit cards were stolen. Oddly enough, it wasn't a direct breach through Target. It was through one of their vendors that took care of their heating and air conditioning for the Target stores. They had a little bit of access into the Target databases, and from there, hackers broke into the heating and air people, and those heating and that's how they gained access to the personal data of people. So that just goes to show you that one little instance of your computer account can get them a backdoor into other areas that you may or may not realize. So you say, I don't work in IT, how can I help? Well, it's pretty easy. Lock your workstation when you're not at it. These are policy and procedures that we have in place. You'd be surprised how easy it is. You're busy taking care of your patients. You step away from your computer for just a moment, and it doesn't take but a few seconds for somebody who knows what they're doing to download malware onto your computer, and then it can spread once it's in the system. So anytime you're away from your computer, it's the hospital's policy that you lock your computer station. That way nobody else can gain access to it. If a hacker gains access, it looks like you were the one who downloaded the malware, and again, you can be held responsible for that. Create a secure password. We have password minimums, so you can't just use your name or something really simple. It has to meet certain password requirements. So, and you're also required to change it at specific intervals. Don't write it down. Don't use repeating passwords, and don't leave it where other people will have access to it. Don't fall victim to social engineering or phishing scams, and we'll talk more about those in a few minutes. Don't use public Wi-Fi. We have secured Wi-Fi sites throughout the facility. Never ever use your secure laptop to do secure business, having to do with patients or anything else using public Wi-Fi. It is extremely easy for people to appear to be a public Wi-Fi hotspot, and meanwhile they're stealing all of the information that you're transmitting. Don't use unauthorized devices or clouds to access the hospital data. If you want to use your smartphone, there's a process for that. We can go through and we can download the apps to where you can securely use your phone or laptop to gain access, but don't do it arbitrarily without IT's approval. And then it's no different than terrorism throughout the United States that we preach. If you see something, say something. If something seems out of place, or you see somebody doing something that could compromise our data, you need to say something. It's very important that you say something, because it doesn't take long and it spreads like wildfire. Let's talk a minute about cell phones. Everybody has cell phones that are basically a computer in your hand that can do a tremendous amount of work anymore. Personal phones can be used for the network and to access it, but they have to be authorized and they have to be approved by IT. Certain software has to be downloaded on them if you want to do so. So see us, see your manager if you want that to happen. Both personal and company cell phones will have that software installed. A, for encryption, but B, if there were a data breach, we can wipe your phone and make sure that there's no sensitive information on there that could be accessed by others. Your phone should have password protection on it. Don't just make it something easy. The other thing that people don't think about is when you need to charge your phone, don't just plug it into the side of a computer or into a laptop where viruses could spread from the computer to your phone, or vice versa. Plug it into a charger so that information can't be downloaded or uploaded to it. And again, I've already said it once, but I can't repeat it enough. Don't ever use personal devices to access patient data. So we talked about phishing a minute ago. To give you a little bit more information, phishing is where an attacker fishes for information. They send out emails that may look like legitimate emails, and those illegitimate emails get information from you. So never ever fall prey to those, and we'll give you an example in a minute. They may seem like they're coming from IT. They may seem like they're coming from your bank. None of these, ourselves included, your bank, and all these other people will never ask you for your personal information through a link or through your email. So be very careful. This is an example. So this looks like an email from PayPal. It looks like a legitimate email, but as we'll point out here in a second, I mean, it looks like this is a pretty serious thing. Your transaction has been declined. You're not going to get something that you may have bought. Almost everybody uses PayPal now, so it's an email from a company that you would suspect that you would get an email from. So, but let's look at some of the things. Number one, look at the top at the from box. Notice that the domain name is not necessarily from PayPal. It's from intl.paypal.com. And then if you'll see the email address there where it says PayPal, that's again where someone's diverting you to a fictitious website. Again, remove your limitation. It's got a big box, makes it nice and easy for you to click. Never click these links. Always type in, if you need to go to PayPal and look at something, type PayPal directly in your address bar at the top. But if you were to click this, it would take you to, again, a fictitious website or download malware onto your computer. If it's a hospital's computer, that right there, that easily they can get into our networks. And then social engineering. You know, we live here in the South where everybody's a gentleman, everybody's polite to each other. We try to do what's right. Cyber criminals, they are genius at tapping into our curiosity and our ingenuity. The simplest, most well-meaning employee may be trying to do the right thing and compromise our entire IT system. Criminals realize this and they use that to their advantage. We talked about the phishing emails. Another thing that you see with phishing emails is grammar. They will oftentimes have poor grammar as they are from overseas. So you're not going to have poor grammar from an email, a legitimate email from PayPal. Another big thing that's happened recently is lost USB or jump drives. You may be walking into work and you see one of these jump drives laying in the parking lot and you think, oh, a coworker has lost their jump drive, but I don't know who it belongs to. Let me just plug it in and see who it belongs to. And when you plug it in, it automatically begins to download malware onto the hospital systems. And in fact, it never was lost. Hackers strategically place them in the parking lot so you will do that very thing. So never ever place found portable hard drives or jump drives into your computer. SD cards are another thing. Don't ever place that into your computer to see whose it might be. Watch for people just lurking behind you, someone snooping who's just looking to see and watch what you put in for your password. They are very good at, from a distance, looking at your password to see what it may be. And remember, on Facebook, all of your friends aren't really your friends. If someone could very easily download a picture and you think it's somebody else that you know, when in fact you don't know them at all, and it's a hacker that's gaining access to a whole lot of your information. They may not be real people at all. Social media is a whole new element for information systems that we have to battle. We are horrible about sharing our information, and that information cyber criminals can take and use it for other things, such as where you went for vacation, what's your dog's name, what's your mom and your husband's name, or your wife's name, and all these type of things. What's your date of birth? What's your address? All of these things are questions that are very likely related to the password that you would want to use. So don't ever put that information out there. We also use two-factor authentication, which makes you ask questions similar to the bank when you're logging in. One of those questions may be your mother's maiden name. Well, if you've got your mother's maiden name on your Facebook page, then it makes it all the easier for criminals to see that information. So they will send you targeted emails and become your fake friend on Facebook, and then all of a sudden they have a lot of information about you that they can likely manipulate in getting into our system. So what do we do as IT to protect our data? And this slide's a little hard to see, I apologize for that. But we ensure that our software is consistently up to date. If we've got the most up-to-date software, it makes it harder for criminals to get in, because that's what a lot of software updates are fixing loopholes and whatnot that criminals may be aware of, and the software company. And these are patches or fixes for those. We use antivirus software. It's a souped up version of what you have at home, but we have antivirus software that's constantly running and scanning our system for things. We use firewalls, VPNs, and other technical things to protect our data and to make sure that the right people are gathering that information. We monitor for unusual activity. If there's a high amount of activity, that notifies us. If there's a lot of network usage that we don't normally have, then that notifies us as well. And if there's a lot of chatter about us on social media and there's no reason for it, we also get notification of that. These are things that help us get on the front side of an attack if one may be happening to us. We perform penetration testing. This is where we hire outside firms to try to gain access, like a criminal would, into our system. And they can identify vulnerabilities that we were not aware of or we didn't think about. Another thing we will do is we will automatically scan your emails for sensitive data, such as patient information. You may not be thinking about it, you may not be aware. And if you've got that sensitive data, then we will automatically encrypt that email to where the end user can still gain access to it, but they have to decrypt it to get to it. And it just helps to make sure that patient data remains secure. We may test you from time to time by sending you fake phishing emails from us to entice you and see if you will click on it. If you click on those links, then we will, it automatically mandates that you perform some additional IT refresher training to ensure that you're not compromising the system. Our passwords have to meet certain criteria as far as the length and the special characters and whatnot. We try to educate you. That's what this is. That employees are our biggest threat to our IT system, and so by educating you through this is what we do to protect it. We ensure our website is safe for our patients, and that includes the patient portals that patients have access to, such as MyChart. MyChart has brought an entire new dimension of security for us that we have to worry about, as well as physicians gaining access to their charts from home and from their offices. This makes the system even more beneficial and efficient, but at the same time it opens the door for security concerns. And then the list goes on and on of different things that we do to ensure that our information is secure. Thank you for your time.
Good job, man.